without further ado, please give a really warm welcome to our panel. First of all, director and composer, Flying Lotus. Please keep it going for Aaron Paul. And last but very much not least, Eiza González.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
I think it's safe to say they liked it. Oh, I think it's safe to say that.
I hope so. How crazy was that?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for being here. I know you're on a very busy promotional tour for this film at the moment. You just screened it at South by Southwest. The reactions, the reviews have been incredibly strong, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, I know, it's well deserved. What was it like to experience
today? Tell y'all motherfuckers go home now.
We'll pay you.
Let's start with you, Flylo, on this one. Have people responded to this in the way that you thought they would, in the way that you wanted them to, in the reactions that you've been getting?
Oh wow, it's all so surreal, you know. I tried to just kind of not have any expectations for so long, and all my friends know that I was fucking tripping leading up to all this stuff, and I still am. It's all still happening, and I'm just like, it's wild. I didn't expect any of it at all. You know, I was just very happy to have finished it and to have done it at all. So it's all a blessing. It's all new. It's all fresh. It's all just like, a dream of a 13-year-old come to life.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
And I talk about the critics, but there's someone who never watches horror movies who watched this, Eiza, and enjoyed it. Your mum.
Oh, she did. She did. She was my mom's like the best. She's such a supporter, and
she was there on set with us.
She was. She came a lot to set with us, and I think she was able to kind of stomach it because she was there, and everyone was so nice to her. She was like, it's worth it, you know? I know every effort that everyone put in, so I will stomach it. And I was like, that's a good mom. That's a good mom. But yeah, I'm just really happy to be able to share finally the work that this visionary brought to life and made us really, really lucky to be part of.
And Aaron, I mean...
Yeah, exactly. He deserves it, really.
And Aaron, we were saying in the green room that when you make a movie like this, it's kind of a punt. You just don't know if what you think you're getting into when you go in is what you're going to get when it comes out. But it's definitely paid off.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's just such a blessing to be able to tell stories for a living, and to do it alongside my just dear friend Eiza. I've known her for so long, and we just really believed in this brilliant man's vision. You know, it was a big swing, and we were so happy we took the swing with him because we believed in him. And I mean, it's just a wild mindfuck of a journey, and proud to be a part of it.
I think it was also kind of, sorry to add to that, it was like done with no expectations in the sense, the way that you just said. It was just like a group of creative people just powwowing on things that we geeked out. Like kids, the way that you kind of hang out with your friends and do the Legos that you like, we're like, oh, we like video games, we like this movie. And so it's amazing when you get to make a movie that way, because I personally I've had amazing experiences, but this was different because we did it independent, so there was no big studio honcho saying this and that, this and that. It was like everyone respected his vision, and then we respected his, and that was just like, I don't know, I just wanted to share that because independent filmmaking is very special. It's a different approach, and it's so untamed and beautiful.
Keep supporting the indies, yeah.
I mean, just picking up on that, this is your first leading role. You have an incredible body of work, but this is the first time you've led a film like this.
Unbelievable. We need a lot more of it.
It is, I genuinely want to check. Had you been waiting for something like this to come along that was not just a great role, but something that was challenging for you, but also for the audience to kind of really make your mark and say, yeah, I can't just do this, I can do this?
Well, I didn't think I could do it, and I think that's why I did it. Because, you know, we're all sort of insecure, and it doesn't matter, the more that we experience being in this industry, the more you realize everyone's just terrified children. Sort of, truly, just like with a dream, and no matter how many successes or not successes or many movies you've done, it doesn't really matter. Like, every single time you get to set, it's scary. And, you know, when you read a script that has so many quiet moments, so much silence, as an actor, it's kind of a dream, because if you kind of go into your head and your body, into your experience, and sort of let emotions flow, and I was craving that. I really was like, I was a ticking bomb of feelings and emotions, and I just had done a lot of yappy characters in a way, like Darling was like, you know, like I'd done a lot of that, and I'd coming off of Guy Ritchie, and I was doing The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare when I called him. And it was the opposite, and I was like, wow, I have to be in silence for most of the movie, and I have to make sure that the audience is engaging with me and believes in me and kind of, you know, supports me, even though I am not giving them a lot to be likable or to believe in her or trust her. It's just relying on my intuition and fly with those intuition, and that was fucking scary. It was a scary journey, and you don't ever know if it's gonna succeed or strike a chord. You just do your best and hope that the feeling you're feeling in that moment connects with the audience, and that's kind of how I felt while doing this movie. So I was just really grateful that he trusted me. You know, it's his big movie, and I feel a lot of pressure to live up to his dream. You know, he gets the chance. I can't fuck it up. You know?
Crushed it.
I can't fuck it up.
You crushed it.
Absolutely. Actually, Florida, picking up on that, a lot of genre movies are style over substance, substance over style, but this is very much both. You know, you deliver on the visuals and you deliver on the content here. When did you know that it was all coming together? There's a point as a creative where you know that your grand vision is working. Sometimes for other directors, it's like when you know it's not working. So what was the point for you? We were like, yeah, this is good or better than I expected.
I'm still waiting to feel that way. No, honestly, I approach this situation super humbly. You know, I'm a student. I'm always learning. There was several ways to try everything that we did, and there were some big swings, things that I didn't know would work. You know, we had a whole Earth sequence for the beginning that we cut like a week before we started filming. Like, we cut the whole beginning that we all got familiar with right out of the movie. And we were like, it'll still work without it. You know, there's just like, there were certain things, and a lot of things we found out in the edit. There was a really crazy scene, well, not really crazy, but a crazy edit that we made where, I'm giving this one away, but the scene when Rita's dragging the bodies to bury them, we snuck a scene of a whole other scene that we had cut out. We snuck the dialogue, Aaron's dialogue, and made it work into that scene, and kind of made the story move along quicker. And, you know, just little things that we figured out along the way, and just experimenting. And thankfully, you know, the people we work with, the producers and all the folks around us, were encouraging us to just do all the things and try stuff, because we're a small movie. You know, we're not Alien, we're not Interstellar, we know what it is, and they were like, yo, separate yourself. And that's like the best kind of encouragement that I could get, because then I was just like, all right, well, let's try all these different ways forward.
There are so many homages in this and kind of paying respect to lots of things that have come before. Now obviously a director will come to you and go, these are the influences, but for you guys as the actors, what were the references that you found yourself that you wanted to kind of bring to the table? Because you have a part in that process too, so Aaron, maybe you want to take a lead on that one.
I mean, I'm such a crazy fan of sci-fi as a whole, horror, but I didn't really like dive into old, films that I fell in love with. When we first sat down with Flylo, he had such a very distinct vision. He shared some visuals that he has already created for like the world, the landscape, the planets, what the sky is gonna look like. He had already worked on some music, and it was just there. I mean, he just really set the tone, set the world, and just placed it in our laps, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, it was things that we kind of all liked, that we sort of geeked over. Like I remember, and Steven remembers, the first time we got on FaceTime, I said, this really reminds me of Silent Hill, and Silent is my favorite video game, and I played it for many years. I love Silent Hill. Played every single Silent Hill, and I think that growing up, I was obsessed with that video game, and I'd always wanted to make, one of my biggest dreams was that before it got adapted was to adapt Silent Hill, and it just, I love video games, first player kind of open world things, and there was the way that he had envisioned so it was more about like a vibe. The vibe, I never say that word right, mind you, I'm Mexican, I'm like vibe, a vibe. We were looking for a vibe here, and we were geeking over a vibe, and it wasn't like a movie, and I think that, people can watch it and be like, I see this, I see that, I see this, I see that, but for us, I mean, it's really hard to make a sci-fi that hasn't been done, and a story that hasn't been done, visuals, but I mean, this movie was very, 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 very small budget. The smaller you think, the more accurate you are. And so, it's not like we had the chance to be like, oh, we're dreaming of aliens, so it was sort of like, that's cool, how can we make, and he'd be like, how can we make this first-person narrative feel like a different moment without having to think too much? And it was like, he was brilliant, like the way that he would use the camera, right? So he would go from first person to second person to third person from outside, and immediately gives texture to a movie, and immediately makes it feel like bigger and more robust. And it was just having a vision. And so sometimes you just gotta look at your director, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Now, I don't know how many people know this, but you guys are really good friends in real life. You've been friends for like 10 years or more. Aaron, you've been a really big champion of Eiza over the years. Thank you for doing that, because now we're here.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Champions, just champions.
I mean, I'm just so obsessed with her. I met Eiza just right after she moved to LA through mutual friends, and you just cannot help but just adore her. And that was definitely the highlight of this whole experience for me, to be able to, I mean, this was sent to us at the same time, and I hit her up, I go, have you read this yet? And she hadn't, so we read it at the same time. We both fell in love with the story, and we decided we wanted to sit down with Flylo, and we fell in love with him. But after Eiza read the script, the next time we spoke, I could tell that she had probably already read it 5 or 6 times, because she was just so already so in, so prepared, had so many thoughts and ideas, and to be able to witness her lead this film, being #1 on the call sheet, there's a responsibility there, because you're setting the tone on the set, and how she treated everybody involved just as equals. We're in this together, but she just did it with such beauty, preparation, and grace, and I'm just so proud of her, and you crushed it.
And I do want to add to that as you're all in LA, so I'm sure you're sort of in a shape or form in the industry or fascinated by movies. A lot of these movies don't get greenlit, and it takes someone with a career like Aaron to be able to greenlight a movie like this, and especially as a woman, it doesn't matter a lot of the times how many movies you've done, if you've been successful in movies, they still won't give you money. And, you know, Aaron attaching to this movie and helping us out make this movie was what made this movie. And so it's a collective effort, right? You have to sort of support friends in the industry, support Fly Low, support me, and he did it like out of. And the other thing I'll say, Aaron's the best father you'll ever meet in your life. And I know a lot of you are fathers. He's better. I'm sorry. He really is better. I'm not even joking. He wants to be with his kids all the time, and we were asking him to come to New Zealand, far away from his family. And he sent me the sweetest message, and he said, listen, Eiza, you've been my friend for 10 years. You fucking deserve this, dude. And if I can support you through this, and I gotta go, I'll do it. And I was like, oh man, this guy is like a real, I've worked with a lot of guys, not everyone's like him. And so props to Aaron, not only talented, but an amazing human.
I will follow you
Really?
anywhere. I love you.
Thank you.
I always wondered who they made those best dad in the world mugs for.
He is.
But now
He
we
really
know it's
is.
Aaron Paul. I want to pick up on something actually that Ace just said about the look and the feel, because the lighting and the color choices in this Fly Low they add so much to literally everything that is already great in this movie. Let's talk about the palette, because a lot of red, a lot of black, we get a lot of grey in sci-fi movies. Red and black can be used to great effect, but if they are used badly, they can give a really flat, they can be the opposite of the richness that you really want to convey. How did you get that right, and what were your tricks to really make it pop?
Well, we had a brilliant gaffer on set.
He was the best.
He was just amazing, and because we built all this stuff in a kitchen cabinet manufacturing warehouse.
Really?
True.
It's true.
Remember when it rained?
Oh yeah.
Oh
just
my
hear-
God! You know, you're supposed to be shooting on a sound stage, right? But anytime it rained, and it rained a lot in New Zealand, you could hear every drop.
Every drop, and we got lucky though because it rained anytime we weren't speaking.
Right.
Yeah, like
No
CJ was
dialogue.
silent.
It was-
Yeah, the rain was on our side.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, as far as the colors and whatnot, you know, like having the limitations that we had on the movie, it was just like, what can we do in camera to really get the most out of what we have and get the most out of our location? We had this beautiful set that was practical and it was built to walk around the whole facility. It wasn't like, you know, any modular pieces, it was all there. You open the door and you're out on the planet surface, and you know, we wanted to take advantage of that because we had it. It wasn't like anything we had to artificially create. So exploiting that, the things that we did have and not the things that we did, we kind of like held back on those. So that was really it. I think, you know, just because it's also from her perspective, really, you get to play with perception and you get to play with, you know, her mind state and how she's experiencing things, and then the environment can reflect that.
You also had music playing on set, which is something only a handful of directors do. Aaron, you had never experienced music on set when you were being...
No, it's just only through my own, you know,
Yeah.
devices, but yet not through like the speakers throughout the whole. Yeah, no, it was amazing.
So what was playing? What was your playlist? Because I've been on 2 sets where the directors have had music. One of them was Edgar Wright for Baby Driver. It was around the time that Prince was playing,
Yeah.
and it just passed. Do you remember that day on set?
Yeah, we took, did I tell you this? So it was Edgar's birthday, and I got him tickets for all of us to go see Prince, and then he canceled. And then 3 days later, they're like, oh, they're rebooking the concert. And Edgar was like, you know, I have to edit so much, but I can't go. And I was like, he's like, I'll see him some other day. It was his last concert. He died 3 days after that. It was the Fox Theater. It was, and he was like, fuck! But I took illegal videos from it, and so, because you were not supposed to take videos, it was like a microphone. It's actually kind of the most amazing, it was bootleg. And then, you know, Purple Rain comes out, and you're like, that's gonna be the last one. If I get kicked out now, then at least I have that video. And I have the footage of him walking out of stage for the last time ever on my phone. And it was crazy, and so from there on, we only heard Prince on set, like every day.
That's awesome.
So what did you play?
What I played, you know, I just kind of was winging it. I knew some of the things that Aaron liked, so I played some Radiohead in there.
Yeah.
And then I kind of was like, okay, Radiohead, so we're gonna go like a little bit of late 90s rock and then play some like, because we're like on this kind of apocalyptic tip, I'll play some Black Hole Sun, you know, and just like the crew, they were all music heads, you know, so it was just like, it just kind of helped boost morale, you know, when it was hard, we got to play some tunes, play some, you know, some techno, and then folks were building,
Yeah.
we were moving, you know, and it's just a psyop, man, you know, it's like, I love it.
Make it sound so pleasant. Talking of sounds, there have been so many sounds for aliens in movies, alien creatures. This one's really different, and the sound is beautifully done, by the way. How did you find the sound character for the alien? Not just the stuff, but also the voice, because the entity talks.
Well, where do I begin?
You're like on the base.
Yeah, just a lot of squealing, you know what I mean? We mix it up. Yeah.
There's a little bit of him, there's a little bit of some creature-y things going on, you know. Can't give away all the goods.
All the secrets.
All the secrets.
And also physical effects are great in this as well. You talk about having physical sets.
Oh yeah.
But also a lot of the physical, you know, the practical stuff for the effects as well, especially in that final act, which is pretty strong stuff. It's pretty good.
You know, the nose gag was my favorite.
Yeah,
I love
There's
that.
full of classic bits of blood in that.
Yeah,
which is
that
great.
nose gag was so good because we had a practical dummy that
Right.
we did some of that on, and we comped it together with the face. The CG
But
stuff.
Nico also did such a good job, sort of the possession of it all. It became a thing. It was like, who can do this better?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
because he was the first one to do it, and he fucking killed it.
Yeah, he said
And we were
He
all.
was amazing.
He was just like, I think, you know, he's such.
And he was worried. He was worried.
He
He was
was
like,
worried.
"What do I do? How do I do it?"
I was
And
like,
then he
"You're
just,
killing it."
Yeah, he set the tone like a motherfucker. I don't know.
And then everyone was like, we gotta do better when we get possessed, and so it became this thing. We're like, how do we one up each other?
When we had the nose gag thing, it was since we had this dummy, we were running the little puppet through the nose. And it was just, you know, it was just like so, there was no, you know, slow motion, and it was just this weird, grossly brutal thing. Just like slipping this guy up the nose, and like everybody's just like, oh. He was making us. And I was like, maybe that was the moment when I knew this was working, you know? It was definitely one of the-
And then there's the brilliant exploding face towards the end.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
That was the last thing you filmed.
Exploding face.
Yeah.
That was the last.
Yeah, you know, as one does.
An old Hollywood classic.
Yeah,
Always
that was.
have
I mean, it was great. For the most part, we were able to shoot this thing from beginning to end.
Oh, wow.
For the most part,
Yeah.
Which is very rare when shooting a film, but mainly because it was just, you know, it was all contained.
But we also we shot it in the order of events. So we did the fights and the brutal shit
Right.
up top. So it was like, it wasn't an easy way to start, you know, it wasn't, yeah, it was just gore out the gate, fighting.
Who was it in that creature head at the end? Was that you?
No, but I will tell you, I tried to prep for this insane fight thing. Do you remember that? I'm like, you think I'm gonna do that? You think I'm gonna be able to do this? This person was double jointed in
He really was.
every possible way. I'm like, there is no way my body can do that without breaking, you know. But I tried, and then they're like, no, that's not gonna be you with the. I'm like, oh.
It was actually a dancer.
Yeah.
He's a dancer because he had to have all these. I don't know if you remember, but he has like a backflip that he turns around.
Yeah.
I mean, only a dancer, a contortionist can do
Yeah.
that. But I have some wonderful. I'm waiting for the movie to come out because I have some wonderful BTS photos of him, like sitting there eating a pizza, like with a floppy face. He's like. With you know the massage gun, he's just like and the face is just flapping like this while he's doing it. Like I'm waiting for like 2 weeks down the line to be able to share those because it's incredible. It was all practical.
Yeah. And talking about the practical effects, the creature design, we've seen so many alien entities over the years. How difficult is it to find a unique design for a creature? We're going to close on this one.
You know, that's the, man, might be the best part of doing this, right? It's coming up with the monster and like, what is it gonna look like? And because we kind of hit this point where we're, you know, Aaron's character, Brian, the guy dies getting bludgeoned, you know, in the head. And we had to figure out a way to keep that and still do you know, the Resident Evil upgrade, you know, the next level, final boss thing. And I remember just throwing a bunch of ideas at the wall. You know, there was one version of it where it was like, there was tentacles everywhere and like he was floating off the ground a little bit, and they were just like, yeah, we can't do that. So I was like, okay, what can we do? You know, and I just started coming up with, you know, a few things, and then the effects guys, they were just like, well, you know, we got this head cast that we could do. I was like, dude, yeah, you tell me what we can do. And like, I want to make something that you guys will geek off of, you know? And they were like, well, all right. And they came back with what we have pretty much. And I was like, all right, yeah, should have asked you guys first.
I'm guessing that you guys were extremely impressed when you saw the reaction, the actual sort of face for the first time. That must be weird.
It's great. It's just always so nice to see everyone's work, you know, put together. Just so much, so many moving pieces. Just so much goes into getting something made, and getting something made is honestly almost impossible. And so
we finished the movie a year ago. Almost like a year ago next month, I delivered it already. So
A year ago.
we've been waiting.
We've
been waiting for this day.
Well, we're glad the time is here, although our time here has come to an end, unfortunately. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for coming.